Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday. I am Carol Williams with Williams Immigration, and we are back for another Monday morning edition of Beyond the Soundbite, where we talk about all things U.S. immigration. So, I like to dive right in. The first thing I want to talk to y'all about is there's an article that came out last week, and it essentially said that the Immigration Service is wanting to expand the citizenship application, and probably it's going to make it harder. And what they're thinking of, according to this article, I've not heard anything in writing or official from the agency yet, but according to this article, they are looking at possibly adding an essay requirement, which would be aimed at trying to figure out someone's attachments to American ideals and values. So I haven't heard anything officially from the agency yet. This just came out in an article, I think last week, but I wanted to kind of bring that to your attention just in case that is something that, that we start to encounter later. And I will keep an eye on that for any sort of official notice for you. Next, I want to talk about the employment-based green card applications. So every fiscal year, there is a limit. There is a certain number. There is a set number of employment-based green cards that can be approved by USCIS and the State Department through the consulates. So the USCIS and the State Department are in close conversation all fiscal year, about how many green cards, employment-based green cards, they have approved. So once they reach the limit for that fiscal year, there are no more green cards, employment-based green cards that can be approved for that particular fiscal year. So we have now reached the limit for the current fiscal year for EB1 category, EB2 category, EB3 category, and EB3 other category. And these are worldwide limits. So the consulates and USCIS will not be approving any more EB1, EB2, EB3, or other category green cards, and these are all employment-based green cards, for the remainder of the fiscal year. So the fiscal year ends the last day of September. The new fiscal year begins October 1. So we are roughly 2.5 weeks until the end of the fiscal year. So your cases that are EB1, EB2, EB3 green cards, because that annual limit has been met, those cases cannot be approved. Now, that doesn't mean that both agencies aren't doing anything. They are certainly doing things. They are getting ready for the beginning of the fiscal year in 2.5 weeks on October 1. And October 1, none of these cases, they shouldn't be unavailable anymore, right? Because we're at the beginning of the fiscal year. So the visa bulletin for October has just been released last week. So I took a gander at it, and of note is that EB1 will be current in the month of October worldwide, except for individuals from mainland China and from India. And then the usual looking at the dates. We've got to look at the dates for all other categories. But for EB1s, those are current for worldwide, except for individuals from mainland China and from India. So that is something to keep in mind as we're sort of sorting through the green card applications for the rest of the fiscal year. The next thing is voter registration at naturalization ceremonies. So immigration released they released a policy manual update that essentially says that only state and local election officials can provide voter registration services at naturalization ceremonies. And so, okay, that's fine. That's fine. But my question is, those naturalization ceremonies that I've been to, and not all are like this for sure, but most of them, I believe, are in USCIS buildings. So I don't know if this is prompted by an issue potentially at swearing in ceremonies that are not at USCIS buildings. So I know around, I think it's like July 4th, they try to do sort of these big ceremonies. Sometimes they're in like football stadiums, that kind of thing. They're like very large venues. So maybe they were having problems with people that, sort of didn't have the right information or were, passing along incorrect information. I don't know. I don't know why this has become a thing that needed to be corrected. So my advice to those individuals who are at a citizenship swearing in ceremony, whether you are in a government building or not, before you fill out a voter registration form after you are sworn in, I would ask one of the USCIS officials that is on site if the individuals that are handing out this information are authorized to be there. I think that is sort of the best thing that you can do if you want to fill out that paperwork right then and there, or get the paperwork to bring with you, home to fill it out later. So, and again, I don't know that was a problem with people getting false information specifically at naturalization swearing in ceremonies, but they've changed the policy manual. So there it is. I thought it was interesting, so I wanted to let you know about it. I've been talking about this for a little while now, but I'm gonna keep harping on it. The Immigration Service has said that they don't really have to issue us RFEs. They can and will skip directly to a notice of intent to deny or just a denial of an application. So we have to make sure that our applications are properly documented. They are, I think, more inclined to simply deny applications where there's very poor, if any, documents that have been filed. And so they really can't even see where you meet the legal basis for the application that you are applying for. So far, we haven't seen this across the board. We're still getting RFEs. When an officer needs clarification or has questions. But just so that, I want to make everyone aware that the agency doesn't have to give us an RFE. They can go straight to a notice of intent to deny and skip that RFE phase. So we all need to make sure that we are putting in a lot of documentation on our applications. So yeah. Next up I have for you, also doesn't take effect until October 28th, but really want to get people aware of this, that USCIS will stop taking paper checks as of October 28th. They will then only take credit card payments. You'll have to fill out the USCIS credit card form, put your credit card information down on the form, and then that is what gets submitted with the application. So now is the time to really start planning that, especially for larger companies that have, many filing fees, potentially in a month a day. We're sort of had a taste of that when it has come to the H-1B lottery over the past couple of years. But this is going to be full stop, every application, October 28th, all via credit card. So that is something that you want to make sure of. The other thing that you want to make sure of is reach out to your bank, figure out what your fraud monitoring alerts look like, whether it's text messages, emails, phone calls, because you want to make sure that your bank, if they don't recognize the charge and they flag it as fraud and they go to, and they send you a notice, you want to make sure that whomever in your organization is in charge of receiving those fraud notices acts quickly so that your bank will not decline the charge. So just keep that in mind. We have dealt with that, and it was not. We have dealt with it. So it's not something that I wish for y'all to have to sort of that anxiety to have to deal with that. And the last thing I have is an extraordinary ability tip, an EB1 extraordinary ability tip. Even though right now, because we're at the, we're close to the end of the fiscal year, those applications are not being processed. I'm still going to talk about them. So an EB1 extraordinary ability really looks backward. It looks back at what you have already accomplished, and it looks back at what makes you so amazing within your industry. So you really need to be dialed in to a couple of things. And that is a clear explanation of what you do in your industry. So what do you do? What is your industry? A super clear explanation for that. Why are you so amazing at what you do? What makes you an extraordinary person within your industry? And it has to be more than I have a master's degree and my boss really likes me and I'm working on a big project. Like, what makes you really super amazing within your industry? Who will you help? You're doing these amazing things. What population of people are being served? And why is what you are doing, why is it so important? So think about those things when you're thinking about an EB1 for yourself or for an employee. Those are some of the things. Those are some of the questions and some of the conversations that I have with my clients about EB1, where we really try to dig into what they've done in the past and what essentially makes them the best thing since sliced bread within their industry. So that is all I have for y'all this beautiful Monday morning. I hope you have a great rest of your day, a wonderful rest of your week. And I will keep you updated as best I can every Monday. Talk to you soon.